is Sophie Conran and I'd like to show you my collection of ceramic coated pots and pans that I've designed in collaboration with Portmeirion. I wanted them to be the best they possibly could. We've got some amazing attributes. The team at Portmeirion have done a myriad of incredible tests to make sure that it's up to my exacting standards. So the first of these features is the heavy gauge base. And it's made of layers of different metals which spreads the heat evenly throughout the pan so you don't get any of those hot spots where you burn things. It's made of aluminium, which is light, and it's coated in ceramic. The ceramic is incredibly non-stick and doesn't release any toxins even at high temperatures, which other pans tend to do. And I'm incredibly proud of them. In the collection, we've got various shapes and sizes. We've got casseroles, we've got this beautiful low casserole, we've got saucepans in 2 sizes, and we've got 2 sizes of frying pan. It comes in this stunning black and this very chic white. So every piece in the collection can go on every type of hob, including tricky induction. I use mine on my Arga and my gas hob, and they work fantastically. They can all also go in the oven, and the frying pans can even go in the grill because they have no plastic bits, so it's perfect for a frittata. Every piece can go from oven to table, so that saves on the washing up, and it's also super easy to wash. Everything sort of just slides off. My husband loves it because he does the washing up. I've designed this collection in collaboration with the amazing team at Portmeirion. We are immensely proud of it. We've gone through every single fine detail. We've been rewarded with buckets of awards, and I'm going to now show you how I cook with it. I'm going to make one of my favourite breakfast dishes. It's really super easy, and probably most of you have your own versions, but this is my version of scrambled eggs. This is one that was taught to me by my fantastic mum, and it doesn't use any milk or water, it just uses butter. So I find if you add liquid to it, it kind of separates and you get it sort of leaking everywhere. I normally use 2 to 3 eggs per person. I'm going to use 3 per person today. I'm doing it for 2. So 6 of these fantastic Burford brown eggs, which is such an amazing colour. They really look like fresh farm eggs. Give them a good whisk with a fork. Wow, look at that colour, it's really orange. So I'm going to put the pan on, and I'm going to add a good dollop of butter. This is the key to the recipe. And then into that, I pour the eggs. A little bit of salt. I like to use this Malden salt, which is, it's not as strong as normal table salt, and it's a bit more natural. And then you just gently move it around and melt the butter onto the bottom of the pan. So you sort of push the butter down, and then it amalgamates into the egg. You can do it quite slowly, it's quite sort of meditative. You don't want to have the heat too high, otherwise it will cook too quickly. It's on a sort of medium heat, and you don't want it too low, otherwise you'll be standing here for hours. So it's beginning to catch a little bit on the bottom. These pans are absolutely fantastic for this because they're so incredibly non-stick that you don't have that sort of furriness on the bottom of the pan, and everything just comes out really easily. So just continue stirring gently and then just cook it as much as you like it. I mean, some people prefer it very much sort of cooked through. I like it a little bit runny still. It carries on cooking for a little while after it comes off the heat. So you want to take it off just before you want it. So I'm just going to put some smoked salmon on the side, a little bit of pepper, and then just finish with a few chopped chives. I love the way the green and the yellow look. There we are, and there's a breakfast for kings. So what we're going to cook today is a spiced lamb with apricots, and we're going to serve it with couscous. It's a very easy dish. I'm going to put into the pan a nice glug of olive oil and some butter. If you use slightly salted butter, the salt releases a little bit of moisture from the onions and it stops it getting too hot which means the onions don't burn. They just sort of caramelise slightly. You don't need to do it too fine. You want them on a medium heat, not too high. You don't want them to cook too quickly. And then just give them a stir every now and again. For the lamb, I've marinated it. You can marinate it for an hour. I've actually marinated this overnight. So we've got 500 grams of neck, and we've marinated it with 2 tablespoons of olive oil, juice of half a lemon, 3 teaspoons of harissa, a teaspoon of ground cumin, ground cinnamon and ground coriander. So I think the onions are done. They're a little bit translucent. They're sort of softer to the touch when you touch them with your spoon. They sound right, they smell right. So now I'm turning the heat up a little bit, and I'm going to drop in the lamb piece by piece, leaving the marinade behind, which we're going to add again in a little while. It is really beginning to smell very good. I'm just going to cook this for about 5 minutes. I'm cooking it on one side and then I'll turn it over in a sec. Bit of pepper. I'm not going to add salt yet. I'm going to add that when I add the liquid. Just turn it over a bit to make sure that the pieces are just cooked on the outside. You don't want to cook it through. You just want to cook it on the outside a little bit. I think the trick with any stew really is to cook it incredibly slowly. So what I've got here is 250 grams of apricots, just dried apricots cut in half, and I've got 450 millilitres of stock, homemade stock, or you know, the stuff you can get from the supermarket's fine. Now, I'm going to turn it down again, add in the apricots, add in the stock and anything that's left from the marinade. And I'll bring that just up to almost a boil before I put it in the oven. So it's come up to heat, and I'm just going to pop it into the oven at about 150 for an hour. So the lamb has been in for about an hour, maybe a little bit more, and I'm just going to take it out of the oven. See how it's getting on. So I'm going to give it a bit of a stir, and then I'm going to pop it back in the oven for another half an hour without the lid. I'm just going to make the couscous to go with the lamb, and I've just followed the instructions from the packet of how to cook it, because it can vary slightly. I'm just adding water, and I'm going to put a little bit of this, which is a vegetarian stock, just a heaped teaspoon in there, and a knob of butter, and then leave it for 5 minutes just to fluff. The stew is cooked, and I'm just going to put some fresh coriander through it. The couscous is done. I'm also going to add a few chili flakes, and then you fluff it so you get a bit of air in between the grains. And you can add a little bit more butter if you like. There we are, it's ready to serve. Hello, I'm going to make a super easy tomato sauce for pasta, or anything else for that matter. It's one that I make very frequently. It's a recipe that's really adaptable, and you can add your own spin on it. I'm going to do it with chorizo today. So I'm going to heat my pan up, and I'm going to use, I think this is 250 gram piece of chorizo. I'm going to use about half of it. What I love about it is it releases this fantastically fragrant oil because of all the spices in it, the paprika. So I'm going to heat that up. I'm going to put it higher actually. And then when it starts to crisp and release this kind of lovely orange oil, I'm going to add a bit of garlic. I've got some nice big fat cloves of garlic. And I'm going to just cut the ends off. It can be a bit fiddly getting the skins off sometimes, but I just put the knife on top of the clove of garlic and give it a bash. And that tends to just loosen the skin up so it just slides off. I'm going to leave those to crisp up a little bit on both sides. Add a nice glug of olive oil. And then fry the garlic whole. You want the garlic really to sort of start tiny bit of brown on both sides, and it's really there as a flavouring to the oil. I'm going to prep my tomatoes. So you can peel them if you want. If you don't like peel in your sauce, I'm using about 200–250 grams per person. So I used to make a tomato sauce recipe, and it was lots of onion chopping and carrots and celery, and my mum showed me this recipe, and it's just amazingly quick and easy. A bit of freshly ground pepper. So you just leave that, do a bit of tidying up, set the table, get your pasta on. The trick about pasta, cooking pasta, is you've got to make sure the water is really boiling. I'm using something called fiorelli. You can use any pasta that you like, or spaghetti. And then once it's in, you've got to make sure that you stir it, otherwise it all clumps together. So we just have to wait for the pasta to cook, and then we're done. You don't have to serve the garlic with it if you don't want, but my family love it. Just going to add a little bit of torn basil, a couple of leaves, bit of grated parmesan. So there you go, ready to eat, and all in about 20 minutes.